Hey everybody, it's Caitlin, nurturing light and life again, and I'm here with another birth story. This is the third natural birth experience that I've had, and this is the best one yet, and I hope they only get better. So my third child, second daughter, she was born on September 18th, and, September 20th, 2018. And let's see. By this time, I knew exactly what I wanted for birth. I had gone natural the first two. I knew I wanted to do natural again. My experiences with the first two taught me that my favorite position was standing and or squatting. That's just what I want to do. And that's just what I wanted to do, and I was going to hold my ground and do it this time. So this was the most settled and comfortable I've been prior to giving birth. I think that plays an effect in the birthing experience. Feeling settled, feeling comfortable, feeling like I was just set in a home and set my family routine, schedule, food, job, or schooling in our case. Well, let's start with this. So my mom came out to be with me for that week that I was due. And this is the first time I've ever gone over my due date. The first one was born the day of. The second one was born 2 days before his due date. And the third one came 2 days later. So that mentally tripped me up. I wasn't used to that. If anybody's gone late, you know what I mean. It's like you have this expectation. At least I did, and I was pretty set on it because that's what had happened in the past. I thought, okay, so the 18th, it's going to happen on the 18th. Well, the 18th came and went, and that was probably one of the biggest disappointments that I ever felt. So I realized that I needed to do some more prep at home. You know, at that point, I hadn't got out any new little girl blankets or any of the new outfits that had come, and so I felt... and I hadn't even set up a pack and play. I hadn't done anything. That's just kind of the way I am. It's just like, yeah, babe will come and then we'll figure out what we need. But I was like, okay, I'm going to show this baby that I'm ready. So I got the pack and play out, got some blankets out. I got a couple onesies out. I was like, okay, I'm ready. And then my mom and I took the bus with the other kids and we started going down on the bus ride just out here for fun with the kids. And that was my way of trying to get things rolling. And I remember sitting at one of the bus stops after we had gotten out. Kids were just kind of playing. And all of a sudden I felt that first sure surge. And I knew it had begun. So we came home and I laid down upstairs in my room. And then later we went down for family scripture time, which we always did. And I always repeated, or one of my husbands, somebody would like repeat the line of scripture and then one of the kids would say it. And in this case, I think it was my oldest daughter's turn to say it, and I said, it was Jacob something. I posted it on Facebook, but it was like, and they did go forth and labor. And that was the line that I read, and then she repeated it, and then my mom and my husband, we just started laughing so hard because it was like the perfect segue into what was about to happen. It was kind of like this manifestation and this reminder that, yep, this is happening today. So, so we knew it was going down. So I came back upstairs and I laid down. At that point, it was probably about 2 p.m. And it was going to be another hospital birth with a midwife, the same midwife that had delivered my second. And as the night progressed, they got stronger and harder and longer. And I remember at about 10 p.m., I went to the bathroom and I was just feeling it. You know, I was like, whew, I could have this baby. I could totally have this baby right now, right here. And I started shaking, you know, and I came back into where my husband was. And he kept saying, you know, oh, try to stay a little long. Let's try to labor at home. And I'm like... in my head, I'm like, well, I was conflicted. I was kind of like, well, you know, he might be right. But, you know, I should have just listened to my body and just said, no, yeah, it's time to go. Let's go right now. Because from that point on, I really felt like I was holding back. I felt like I was not letting go because I was we have to wait until we get to the hospital because, you know. So at that point, from about 10 p.m. on, I was like holding back. So I remember after, you know, whispering to him, like, I think it's time to go. He said, maybe hold out just a little bit longer. So I tried to, and that's when the shaking really picked up. And I remember just thinking, I want to have this baby right here on this floor right here. I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to do anything. Like, I could just have this baby right here, right now. and that's when I leaned over to my husband and I was just like shaking, and I was like, I'm not thinking anymore. I think we should just let's go. We've got to go now. And at that point, he knew. He got up and went downstairs. My mom was standing there. She had told me to tell her if anything picks up, so I did. I said, we're on our way. You know, we're going. And on the way to the hospital, it's about a 20-minute drive. And again, I just remember that feeling of holding back. It's the worst feeling in the world. You're just like holding back, breathing, trying to relax. And we sang, my husband turned the song on, Hey Juliet. And it's an older song, you could look it up, but the song is all about this, you know, this girl, Hey Juliet. And since we knew the name, our baby was going to be Juliet, we just had some fun with it, you know. I mean, I was in pain, but I still tried to live that moment and put a smile on my face and just like think to myself, someday I'll look back and I'll just smile at this and be grateful for this. And I did. So it was a lot of fun to just have that little, you know, here she comes, that little song or little theme song for Juliet. And so we get to the hospital. At that point, I think around midnight, we get to the hospital around midnight, and they wheeled us in, and this is where they put me in a wheelchair, and this guy pushing me, like, literally is trying to have a conversation with me, and I'm just like, again, what's with the conversations, guys? Like, come on! And I just ignored him. You know, my husband was right there. I was like, if he has any questions, you know, Ryan's gonna, I'm not talking to you. Like, are you seriously asking me the dumbest questions? Like, no offense. It's like, wow. Like, just, yeah. So he's pushing me in the wheelchair. Husband's right there. And we get into triage, right? And at triage, I was pretty calm by this point. Like, this was my best birth. I was completely with it. I was just, between each contraction, I was completely cognizant. Is that even am I saying it right? I was there. I was completely with it. I was completely able to have a conversation, say what I wanted, like, communicate with the nurses or whatnot. So the lady in triage, before I laid down on the bed so she could check me, I just touched her shoulder and I said, don't break my water. She says, okay, I won't. She checked me and she said I was at a 6 or a 7. So I was there laying on the bed, which to me, like, checking, what does that even mean? I think it's useless information. So she checks me, I'm like, okay, whatever, 6, 7. And, but I knew I was rearing to go. I was like, this is going to happen so soon. And so she took my pants off, she checked me, and when she said, do you want me to just put these pants in a bag? That's when I was like, really like, oh yeah, okay, she knows it's coming too, so yeah, just put them in a bag. So, and then, let's see what happened. I was still having contractions, which the contractions were pretty tough, like tougher than I remember them. But the pushing was awesome. So this one, I feel like the contractions were harder, but the pushing was easier and like not even painful. But I'll get to that in just a second. So there I was in triage. She checks me, and then has my pants in her back, and she's doing computer stuff, whatever. Ryan's answering the questions. And then I start just grunting. I just start grunting. Ugh. And then I ask him for a throw-up bag. And I'm like grunting and grunting. And they like didn't give me a throw-up bag. And I said it pretty loud and clear. And I said it again. I said, I need a throw-up bag. And she gets one that time. And she was fumbling with it. And it fell on the ground. And at that time, I think I had my first like spit of throw up come out. But, and then she had the bag to me, and when I started throwing up, so I didn't know this at the time, but I think throwing up is a sign of you're in transition. And so I'm there puking in this bag on this bed that they're going to wheel me into where I actually give birth. And so when I started puking, they opened the doors and they started pushing me out the door. And this is again where I just feel so invaded and like uncomfortable. I don't know about anybody else, but for me, it's like I'm in my jammies, and I don't feel like I'm a very private person. I think everybody has a level of privacy, but like I'm a pretty open person, I would say. But, like, when I'm in labor, I'm in my PJs, my butt half is naked, and I'm being wheeled through, and, you just look a hot mess. You don't even look hot. You look a mess. That's what you look, but call it a hot mess if it makes you feel better. And I'm getting pushed on this bed towards my hospital room, and you could just feel all of the eyes on me, like this huge whale of a lady puking in a bag. Probably even thinking of this stuff, like, why doesn't she just numb herself up? But I give a video, I talked about why natural birth is so important to me and, like, why I love it. Like, I'm at the point now where it's like, I wouldn't miss that opportunity. There is so much that happens when you feel what's going on. I can't go back. I would never do it any other way. It's the coolest feeling. You're so powerful. And I feel like when I've gone through that and I go through it again and again and again, I just feel so much stronger. I mean, if you push a kid out unmedicated, I think your journey through motherhood is just even more powerful. Granted, like, I understand, you guys, I understand there are things that happen and the medication is there and that's helpful and good for you. I want to make it clear that I respect babies coming to the world however that is done. And I have a level of respect for women who do it the way that they feel is right for them and their baby and whatnot. So, like, that, I want to make that clear. My experience with natural birth has been so amazing that I would never change it. There's just too much to be said for it, too much to learn, I mean, you change. Like, when you let yourself go through that kind of pain, you're powerful and you become somebody else, and it's really cool. So read the book, The Gift of Giving Life. I think in every video I've mentioned that. So they're wheeling me in, and again, just all eyes, who knows what people think when they see this, lady come in. But you got, you just see, whatever. Here it is. Here I am, yep, puking in a bag, in my jammies, butt naked, bum tie, So they wheel me in, and then they strap you to all this junk. And by that time, it's like, whatever, do what makes you guys feel better, because I'm okay. I'm at peace. I had a friend tell me before I went in and gave birth, Elisa, thank you. She said, you have to be at peace no matter what's going on. Sorry, phone died. She said to me, you have to be at peace no matter what anybody else around you is doing or thinking. You just have to create this space of good energy and peace so that you don't get thrown off by wacky nurses or people that are, thinking whatever they're thinking. And so they wheel me in, and I was so ready. Like I said, I was rearing to go, feeling ready to go since 10 o'clock about. And by that time, it was like 1 in the morning something. We had arrived at the hospital around 12 something. And when I was laying on bed and they were monitoring me, which is just the most frustrating, thing to me. It's just annoying. But, people are going to do what they're going to do. So when my midwife, Bethany, walked in, it was so good to see her. It was so good to see her. But before she came to the door, really quick, I said, kind of jokingly, kind of in jest, just kind of like testing to see where everybody was. I just said, okay, am I ready to push? Can I push? That's what I said. Can I push? Really excited, just like into it, really with it. And do you know what somebody said to me? It was a nurse, and she goes, not unless you want a C-section. I was like, wow, lady, get out. Just go. Just get out. Like, you don't say that. Does anybody agree with me? You don't say that to a lady. if the woman tells you she's ready to push, she's ready to push. You don't, that's not your job. That's not your job at all. It's like, what are you doing? Oh, that made me mad. But guess what? I didn't get angry or mad. I didn't say anything. I honestly, I acknowledged it, and I was like, wow, that's a frustrating thing for someone to say. Like, but I was like, this is my peace. This is my bubble. This is my space. And so when Bethany walked in, I was so glad to see her. And I was like, I'm so ready, Bethany. Can you just check me? Bethany checks me, and she's like, oh, yeah, you're like there. You're like there. And I said, okay, can I push? And she said, yeah. And she just throws on her gown. And I said, okay. And like, I had been thinking about this moment for months, maybe years, because I knew that's what I wanted with, after my first and second. And I had talked to Bethany about it. I was like, this is how I want to be. This is how I want to stand. So she knew. She knew what is that about to do. So on the hospital bed, I stood on my feet, squatted on my feet. I was on my feet. And I reached my hand up into my cervix, and I felt Juliet's head completely surrounded in her amniotic sac fluid thing. It hadn't broken yet, which I thought was so awesome, because I had read, I think in this, the Bradley book, it talked about allowing that water to stay intact, and it kind of gives you a little bit of a bigger, better opening for the baby's head to come out. So it kind of just assists you in your delivery. And so that was so neat to me to feel that. I was like, so neat. I said, okay, here we go. And I was talking like that. I was perfectly with it. I mean, it was like the adrenaline, I mean, the rush. I knew it was time. I was ready to go. And so one giant bearing down, pop! The whole bag of water just popped all over Bethany. And she's like, whoa! And I was like, wow, yeah. And then second push. So I pushed really deliberately, intentionally, and pop, there goes the head. And at that moment, I had this urge to stand up, and I did. I stood up on the hospital bed, and I just needed to move a little bit. I just needed to get my hips moving. So I stood up on the hospital bed, and I'm moving down, and Bethany's like, whoa, 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 get down, Caitlin, get down. And that frustrated me a little bit, because I had told her I was going to do that. I said, I'm going to stand, even if I have to stand on the bed, I'm going to squat or stand. But, you know, I was coming right back down anyways to finish pushing out, but I just needed that little rock. And so I came back down, and I wasn't at that point still not making any noise. Like, I was very quiet, they said. I didn't make any noise. I was just doing my thing. And then I remember squatting back down, and that's when I let out my first, like, grunt. And I put my hands on my knees in the squatting position, and then I pushed really hard for the second time. I just kind of I bore down and let it come. And that's when I felt her sliding out, and I quickly put my hands down there so that I could grab my baby, which I thought was, again, I just thought that was so neat, and I thought it would be fun to do. You know, of course, the midwife had her hands there too, but I just grabbed my baby, and boop, and I said, the first words out of my mouth were, that was awesome! No joke. That's how it felt. It felt so awesome, and I just got to look at her and just see her and hold her. And of course they come in with their towels, and I told them to back off. I was just like, whoa, 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 can I like look at my kid with the Vernex on? I don't care, you know. They're gonna do what they're gonna do, but you know, you can speak for yourself. There's no shame in that. So I just said, back off, you know, I want to see my baby as is. And I was the one to like turn her over and just kind of pat out the, you know, whatever I don't know what I was doing. I was like just patting her back, maybe just coughing out stuff. And I just got to, you know, hold her. I was so happy. It was just, it felt so good. I can't tell you guys. I felt like, I think in my post I said, I literally felt like a boss. I was, it felt amazing. Like, I want them all to just be that powerful and uninvaded, like that's my biggest thing. It's just like, just leave me alone to push out a kid. Just leave people alone. Like, the kid's gonna come out. There's a story in one of these books that I read about a woman. It was a bunch of birth stories, and I'm sorry I don't have the name of the book. Maybe it was the hypnobirthing book, actually, that I've shown in some of these videos, I think. And she goes, so somehow the lady is at home and passes out, she's unconscious, and literally has her baby completely unconscious with nobody around. So what's the point there? Your baby's gonna come out, whether or not anybody's there, whether or not anybody does anything. I mean, assuming there's like, you're a pretty healthy person, nothing's really wrong, the baby's coming, and nobody needs to intrude in that. So yeah, I said that was awesome, and it felt so good, and I just, I kicked back on that hospital bed with my baby. Of course, you start breastfeeding right away. Right before I pushed, again, I told you in the other videos, I love being naked when I give birth, because I just it's like restraining for some reason. And I like, literally, I'm not even thinking about any, it just doesn't bother me to be naked in the hospital. So right before, I think it was like when they were monitoring, and Bethany had checked me and I knew I was about to get up and push, I had to take my shirt off and string it onto one of these IV things that they had me put in. Again, I think it was for Group B strep, and at that point, I think I told you on the last one, I didn't want anything, I didn't want to do anything, so I didn't have them tap me up that time, but this time I did, just because I didn't care. I was like, man, whatever, do whatever you think. And because I was going to be at peace no matter what, and just let it roll. So I took the shirt off, and then I was ready. So there I was, after I had pushed, baby came out. I just kicked back in that chair, you know, pull a little blankie, you're sitting there nursing your baby, which just, you feel like a queen, boss, mother, everything awesome. And like, nothing can go bad. To me, it was just, this was the experience I had with this baby. It was just like, whoa, like, awesome. And then Bethany's like, here, give me one more push to pop the placenta out. And I can't remember if it was this one or my second, where I was like, oh no, I'm done pushing. I think it was my second, when I was like, oh really, I can't push anything. But with the third, I'm pretty sure it was the third, this one, I just gave it a quick bloop, and out came the beautiful looking placenta. It looks so cool. It's like a tree of life type thing. So I got to look at that, and yeah, guys, it was pretty awesome. I just feel like it's so overlooked, because so going through that kind of an experience and having the nurses and everybody around you just act like nothing happened is kind of like, guys, did you just, like, didn't you feel that? Did you see that? Like, a person came out of me. And I just long to have somebody to, like, share that with me. I'm so grateful my husband is there. I mean, and for other women that go through this and have this kind of an experience, to share it and connect on that level of like, yeah, there's just nothing like it. It's so cool. And so it's like a little bit of a downer when the nurses are just like, you know, like, whatever, you know. So you're like, did you see that? You know. Anyway, so that was it. I mean, she was out. Placenta came out. She came about 1:17, about an hour after we had arrived at the hospital. And my recovery was really good for this one. My breastfeeding was really good. Same with my first. The only breastfeeding that was a little off for me was my second. And I attribute that to the surrounding, like, the stress a little bit of the move. We were house sitting at the time, and like 3 days after he was born, we had to like move and get everything situated. So I kind of treated him like he was a 2-year-old and he was a newborn. So with my third, I just said, you know, thank heaven we breastfed the whole time, and I never had to go to formula. Like, that was really important to me. But it was just, you know, he was, you know, 4 ounces a week, I think, and you're supposed to be getting like, you know, 4 to 7 is what I was told. I think La Leche likes to see 4 ounces a week, whereas your doctor wants to see like 5 to 7 ounces a week. So he was like barely there getting 4 ounces a week. So, and I think that was my fault because I didn't really establish that whole breastfeeding, you know, just lay there with your kid and breastfeed him. So, but I did with Juliet. I'd gotten an app. I was like, that's never going to happen again. And so she latched right on and nursed, and I just kept track of it for a couple weeks, months, however long I went and did that for. And it was just pleasant to have been in the same hospital with the same midwife, with the same home, not worrying about a move. So I think all of these factors can have an effect on a person when they're giving birth, because I know that feeling that security, having been moved in, my husband was doing his school thing, and we were established friendship, relationships, can all attribute, I think, for me, to that birth experience. So it was awesome. Yeah, ask me about it, or let me know how yours goes. I love you guys all, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.